Thanks for joining us on another episode of The Grind. Here's your host, JB.
Hey, welcome to another episode of The Grind. Appreciate that, Pierre. We have another special guest for you, but before we introduce him, let me tell you a little bit about his career. This Mountaineer went 33-1 his senior year in high school, was a state champion at the 195, and named team MVP at Dudley High School in Greensboro, North Carolina. That's what we call homegrown, folks, right here in our backyard. All conferences sophomore, junior, and senior year earning All-American his sophomore year. Then he went on to become a Mountaineer and went to the Appalachian State University and started his wrestling career at the collegiate level. His freshman year, he went 7-13 overall, recorded a pin against Missouri, and took 6th at the Keystone Classic at the 197. Sophomore year, went 18-15, going 7-2 his last 9 matches of the season. Victories against Duke and Indiana before taking 3rd at the SoCon Championship. Went 4-3 in SoCon dual matches, taking 6th at the Southern Scuffle. Junior year went 20-9 and 7-0 in SoCon duals. Listen, if you're a wrestler out there and you want to be one of your coach's favorites, go 7-0 against conference duals. That's a good way to become a favorite of one of your coaches, or all of them. SoCon All-Conference, 3rd at the SoCon Championship. SoCon Wrestler of the Month after a 3-2 decision over a 14th-ranked wrestler at Chattanooga, capping a come-from-behind win for the Mountaineers, securing the regular season championship. That match, folks, is when I fell in love with our guest. It was an exciting match, and if you weren't a part of that, watching that, or at that venue, you missed out on a great match. It was an amazing comeback. Had a win against Ohio, Duke, and Oklahoma, and was a first-time NCAA qualifier that year. Entered the NCAA championship, ranked 31st in the coaches' ranking and 28th in the RPI. His senior year, he went 26-7, finished his career at 77-48, 5-0 in SoCon duals. Again, no losses in conference duals. Another year of that. Champion at the SoCon Championship, earning his 2nd NC National Championship qualifier. Won against 18th-ranked NC State wrestler with wins against Oklahoma, UNC, Duke, and was again a SoCon Wrestler of the Month. Then went on to become a volunteer assistant at Appalachian State from 2019 to 2020. And I don't know if it's been known yet, and I'm not sure that it's been made official yet, but will soon, knock on wood, become the assistant coach at Appalachian State Wrestling for the 2020 through 2001 season. Folks, welcome to Beyond the Mat with Randal Diabe. Randall, man, I can't tell you how excited I am for this episode, man. That match at Chattanooga, I watched that on TV, and that was amazing.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome event. So, Randall, where do we want to start with, just like we do on all of these? Before we get into that Chattanooga match, we're going to hear a little bit more about that. But before we get involved in that Chattanooga match, tell us about your start in wrestling. Where was it that you started? How old were you? When did you first hit that mat and start honing your craft?
Well, it all started back in middle school. Believe it or not, I was a troublesome kid, and so I just decided to start doing sports to keep myself out of trouble. And I eventually played football, but then I was just trying to get better for football the next season. So I did track, and then I wrestled. I did wrestle to get my strength up, but then after that, I started falling in love with wrestling because of the atmosphere of it, and you know how much gut you have to have just to be out there with just you and an opponent. And after that, I just started seeing myself excel, and I just started focusing more on wrestling. And I still do football come to high school, but my main focus was towards wrestling. The football coaches knew it was towards wrestling too, so they all kind of still pushed me towards wrestling a little bit more, and that's why I started taking over more and more. later on, my coach, Coach Crosby, the late Coach Crosby, he had done a lot for me, and he came to the middle school. He did some clinics, and he saw me. He was interested, and Dudley was in my district too. So by him coming to the school and doing clinic for us, I started getting interest in him, and I was thinking to myself, I want to wrestle for this guy because all the time that he's put in and trying to put himself out there to get some good wrestlers. So come to high school, I started wrestling for him, and then it just started taking off more and more. Come to my sophomore year, I went to Virginia Beach with them, and I ended up placing 6th, placing All-American at at Virginia Beach. And then later on, come my junior year, my coach had passed away because he had cancer prior to 2 years prior to that, and then it just kept evolving. To by the beginning of my junior year, first day of school, got a news that he had passed away, and that just made my dedication for wrestling grow even more and more because all that he has done for me, and to see that he's not going to be here, accomplish some of the achievements that he has set for me, that he envisioned me accomplishing, and I just started dedicating myself more. Started partaking in, started going to clubs and just to hone my skills, things of that nature. And then I dedicated my seasons to him. So I just 100% full-time wrestler, but kind of still a football player at the time, but mainly focusing on wrestling. And then come my junior year, qualified, won regionals, qualified for states, didn't do so well. I ended up placing 5th. And then just over the summer came, I just kept honing my skills. Come my senior year, I almost went undefeated. I lost to the guy that I beat in the regional finals and the state finals at their tournament. And then after that, one of my coaches, Stephon Greenlee, went to UNC with Coach Bentley, and Coach Bentley was at the state tournament, and he had the club I was with at the time was Orikion, and I was told that he showed some interest in me, and then Stephon knew about it too, and so he took me up to him, and then we took off from there. He's been interested in me, and I just kept trying to do what I can to make sure I come to this next level and wrestle for him.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty typical start for a North Carolina kid. John Marks, one of his favorite things that him and I talk about is homegrown wrestlers. He calls them homegrown, right? The North Carolina kid's a lot like himself and yourself. It's kind of it seems to be a pattern for the North Carolina wrestlers, starting out in football or basketball first, and then finding their way to the wrestling mat. It speaks to the accomplishment that you guys accomplish in really a short order compared to most kids in the Midwest and some of those Big Ten schools and that sort of thing, some of those powerhouse P5 wrestling programs. And to see you guys go out there on the mat and compete at the same level as them with a little bit later start is pretty telling to your commitment to the sport after you find it. And for yourself, man, it does nothing more than to warm my heart to hear you tell a story of starting wrestling as kind of your way to find your way, right? As a way to continue to push yourself, as a way to keep on track and doing the right things. Because that is, for me, for what I try to do for the program and to push what it is that you guys are doing and the success you have, that is, the ultimate goal, right? Is to get the next guy like you that can come up here and be an Ncaa qualifier and go out there and help win Southern Conference championships and do all that sort of thing. So it definitely it makes me feel good to hear stories like yours about wrestlers that they're, you and I talked a little bit. I'm sure this isn't the path that you anticipated when you first stepped on the mat. I don't know that you envisioned becoming a coach at Appalachian State Wrestling, a top 25 ranked team in the nation. And I'm sure that it's been quite the whirlwind since that day you stepped on the mat. But it definitely makes us feel good on this side of the mic to hear these type of stories. So describe obviously the 195, the 197 guys, right? You're just a step down from the heavyweights. Describe what it is that your style. If you had to describe your style of wrestling, what kind of style would you describe yourself as having?
I like to wrestle out from the open. I'll say that's my style. Just wrestling out from the open, just hand fight with them, just sting them, and then just hit my attack. But then, also I had to start adapting to the fact that some people would start respecting me wrestling from the outside, and then clamping down on me, just trying to squeeze me, things like that. So I started honing my skills and ways how to keep my emotion going, how to keep scoring the way I want to score, even though they try to slow me down. But I would definitely say my best style is from the open. I like to more like that Jordan Burroughs style, just tap go.
Nice. So your freshman year is not your freshman year in college at App. It was not untypical, right? Most freshmen come in a little bit of a shaky start. You're not coming out with your best season. What is it that your freshman year? What kind of stands out in your mind about your freshman year?
Oh, honestly, all the beatings I took my freshman year. That's what stands out, because without those beatings in the room, I wouldn't have become the wrestler that I eventually became. And it's a learning process. I mean, coming out of high school, you winning and being a state champ. I mean, you feel like you're on a pedestal from everybody else. Well, that's at the high school level. But once you get in college, everybody is the same. Everybody's a D1 athlete. You ain't special no more. So
yeah.
But I definitely, that's one thing I remember, taking some L's in the room, and then eventually those L's started helping me progress and start turning my L's into W's and evolving from there.
And it definitely didn't take you long. I mean, your sophomore year, you come out much better than you went into it with your freshman year. Your sophomore year, 18-15, had some key victories against Duke and Indiana. I mean, those guys are no pushover schools, right? Those are some big schools that obviously would have had the opportunity for your ear if they would have showed interest. So it had to feel good to step on the mat with some of those guys that you were wrestling against and walk away with victories there.
Oh yeah, it felt sweet, real sweet. Because everybody, like, some people look at Appalachian, as it's being Appalachian, not no big D1 school, like the other P5s, Duke, Indiana. So every time Coach Bentley schedule those guys on our schedule, I look forward to wrestling those teams just to prove myself that just because I go to Appalachian, Appalachian is not a school to look down upon just because it's not as big as the schools that we're wrestling. So it was a sweet moment. Every time I go out there and I beat those guys, it shows that I'm just as good as you are, no matter what the school is, no matter what logo you got on your singlet, whatever it is, just the hard work that you put in. So
yeah. And that was kind of your sophomore year. You took 6 at the Southern Scuffle that has a lot of big teams at it. There's not, that's a pretty sizable tournament that may not have a lot of the big schools, but definitely has a lot of competition within those weight classes that show up and wrestle there. So that you had to know, was it in your sophomore year that you had an idea, or where was it at in your early years where you were like, man, if I just applied myself a little bit more, or if I did a little bit more training and pushed myself, I can be really good. You can walk out on the confidence that you had walking out on your junior and senior year. You remember at what point it was in those years that it kind of clicked for you?
Oh, kind of towards the second half of the season, my sophomore year, things started clicking for me. Because one of the we had wrestled on Gardner Webb. Let me start this. One of my biggest things was, having confidence. I had confidence issue coming up in the ranks, and that's something Coach Bentley will work on with me a lot, and eventually my confidence started growing. But the second half of my sophomore year, I think we had wrestled Gardner Webb it came down to the conference championship. Whoever won that match, wins the conference. And or it's a three-way tie thing. But funny thing about that, my freshman year, it came down to the same exact predicament. I had wrestled and I had to win my match in order for us to still be in the fight. I ended up losing the match, and our heavyweight got a pin, Denzel got a pin, but we still lost the match. Come my sophomore year, same exact scenario, So I just, after everything that Coach Bentley had worked on me with, and controlling my breathing, just controlling how to stay calm and not being a spectator, but focusing on the perspective of being an athlete, and that's when I started seeing what he had, and I started having a vivid vision, and things just started clicking. I started buying more to what he was telling me, and everything that he should. I just started saying yes. I don't talk back, just start absorbing everything that he tells me. Learn how to start handling constructive criticism.
We've got an assistant coach, Randall Diabe, is on the episode tonight of Beyond the Mat with the Grind. If you're watching us on any of the other streams, Twitter, YouTube, or anything else that we may show up on tonight, hop over here to our Facebook page. You can chime in, maybe ask a question, make a comment, whatever it may be that you have for Randall. Share us, like us, follow us, subscribe to us, retweet us if you're on Twitter. Would be greatly appreciated. Randall, you coming out of that sophomore year, you're starting to feel that confidence, and it's kind of funny because you and I had a short conversation about confidence prior to us pushing the live button, and to be honest with you, I had no idea that was an issue, right? But I do remember seeing, coming out of that sophomore year, a different wrestler than I'd been watching before. And I obviously going into your junior year was a completely different wrestler, and we'll chat about that in just a second. But the confidence level is something serious. I mean, I tell this to a lot of people, especially the people that I'm trying to get to buy into the program and to come and watch a wrestling duel match, tournament, whatever it may be in Boone. The one thing that I tell them is, tell me another sport where it's one Mountaineer against the other team's representative, one-on-one in front of the crowd. There's not too many sports like that anymore. I can probably, maybe tennis, right? I mean, there's maybe some other ones, but most everything that we do right now in college athletics is team-based. And wrestling is still very much team-based. But you step out on that mat, and it's you and you alone in front of everybody, wrestling typically their best wrestler in that weight class. What were some of the things and what were some of the techniques? If you were to talk to a wrestler today, if I was that wrestler that was struggling with some confidence issues, what are some tips and what are some reminders that you would give, those up and coming wrestlers that may have the physical attributes but just don't have the mental confidence to step on that ring and win a match?
One thing I say, just don't take the practice. One of my confidence issues came from the practice room. At one point, it came from the practice room, from all the L's that I took, and your confidence definitely start wavering. Especially you coming out of high school, accomplishing all you did, and then coming here, going back to the bottom of the totem pole. That definitely was the root of my confidence, and then I'll sometimes let that get in my way in the matches, and then it goes downhill. But one thing I can say is that don't take the practice, the whoopings that you get in the practice room. Don't take any of that stuff serious. Don't take it to heart. Don't hold it within. Just it's practice. Nobody wins at practice. That's something that I definitely wish I didn't do, because I try to keep tabs on people that I beat in the room, and that wasn't really. People beat me too. It just didn't really work out. But I eventually grew to learn that it's just practice. Just you're here to get better. Nobody, no spectators. You just have your teammates and your coaches.
Yeah.
And there's nobody. You're not getting any awards. You're not getting anything special. You're just getting better and better and better. So that's one thing I say. Just if you're taking some L's in the wrestling room, just take it as a learning experience and just keep coming back harder and harder each day and trying to figure out things. Because the more you lose, the more L's you take, the more you learn from it. Everybody, you learn from your mistakes. You learn from things that you do wrong. So
Yeah, that is. That kind of sounds like my military. When I left high school to enter the military, you leave, your ego's all high, you're confident, you're going off to boot camp, and from day one, they rip you down to nothing and build you back up all over again. So I can kind of relate to that. That's got to be a humbling experience. But like you said, man, you're stepping in a wrestling room with every wrestler in those weight classes are the same caliber as you are. Top-notch wrestlers. They weren't recruited by Appalachian State Wrestling because they're not very good. So I can definitely see that point. That's got to be a pretty humbling experience, especially to come out of school as a state champion, thinking you're going to run in there and take over in the weight class. So going into your sophomore year, going into your junior year. Started out, man, you had another great season. This is kind of the start of your very good seasons, right? Went 20-9, 7-0 in SoCon duels. Man, that is, like I said during your introduction, man. You win all your conference duels. It's not too long before the coaches smile at you every time they see you. I mean, that had to be a huge moment, and I'm sure you're kind of the same way now that you're a coach. You get a guy that wins all the conference duels matches, man. It's like that is money right there. I mean, he steps out on the mat against your conference opponents, you're taking down some points.
Oh yeah.
So what is it I know what the match is, probably your junior year, that sticks out most in your mind. It had to be the Chattanooga match. And I was texting with John Mark, and I thought this was true when I read it in your bio, but I wasn't positive. This kid that you faced was the 14th ranked wrestler in the weight class, and you had never beaten him before.
No.
You step out there, Appalachian State Wrestling is down, I think, by 2 or 3 points in the dual meet, with the championship, with the conference regular season championship on the line. You step out onto the mat with this guy, Randall. What is going through your mind?
Honestly, just executing executing what I've been taught. All the work that I've been putting in. Cause come off my freshman year, I wrestled him. He beat me pretty soundly when we wrestled him at their place. And then come conference, I wrestled him again in semis. He beat me. He only ended up beating me by a point or two. So that went from a major. I went from a major decision from the beginning of the season, and by the end of the season, to just losing by 2 points. So my confidence in wrestling him definitely started growing right there, because I know I can make some improvements. It was just some freshman kinks that I had to work on. But then come sophomore year, I wanted to wrestle him again, but he had injured himself, so he had to get redshirted. And come junior year, everything that had happened in the past between me and him, and I just kept all that in my head as well. I know where I stand with this guy. I can beat him. I believe in myself. I started having more blind faith in my coaching, and my coaches, and everything that taught me. I just stay solid. Just good fundamental wrestling, like Coach Bentley always been trying to teach everybody. Same thing he teaches everybody to this day. Just good fundamental sound wrestling, hold good position, and just execute your attacks. When you see your attacks, just execute it. And, it was a low scoring match, but eventually I saw my attack. I missed a couple of attacks that I could have scored on, but I saw that one attack and I went for it and I scored on that. But after that, I know I had him, so I just had to just keep pounding, just keep trying to make him wrestle some more. And he kept getting some deep shots, but that straight defense, straight fundamental. My fundamentals, I don't know, for some reason that match, I turned into a scrambler. I never knew I was a scrambler.
Yeah.
Grabbing ankles, rolling through, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess all that just came from all the work that I've been putting in the room. And it's just having that will not to lose, having that will not to lose, and having the will to prove to somebody that you're better than them.
Yeah.
That you can compete with them, no matter their ranking.
Yeah, that's what I remember most. I'll be honest with you, man. When I seen how quick it was going, how fast the scrambles and everything, I was a little bit concerned. Because most big guys your size, that is not what you want to find yourself in. But you pulled it out, and it was still pretty close. I think it was 3-2, I think, if my memory serves me correctly. But, man, I will tell you what, that was an exciting time, and I know that will live with you for a while. coming from that position, never beating that guy, to win in that match and winning the regular season championship for your team had to be pretty special. That season continued to be special for you. That was your first time NCAA qualifier. You entered it ranked 31st with the 28 RPI, and you went on and you beat Ohio, a wrestler at Ohio, Duke, and Oklahoma. Beating a wrestler at Oklahoma, that is that is no small feat, man. Those guys typically show up ready to go and with a pretty deep roster, so that had to be a good feeling for you as well. Tell us a little bit about your NCAA championship experience. So what was that like for you? Being your first, that had to be a little bit overwhelming to begin with, huh?
Oh yeah. It was definitely overwhelming at first, and it's like any tournament. Same concept as me. Same feeling as I felt when I first qualified for the state championships. And I look up in the crowds and see I've never seen so many people, supporting wrestling like that, especially in the state of North Carolina. And, I just kind of get starstruck, just get caught up in the crowds and not really focusing. Same concept at nationals. Seeing that many people, a lot more people than just the state tournament. A lot more people.
Thousands.
Yeah, it's just it was definitely mesmerizing. And I just, it definitely was a special moment for me being there. But at the same time, I kind of was happy a little bit more than I should have been for just qualifying. I kind of lost my focus on the main goal right there. But because by my first match, I still got caught up in the crowd. I tried to get myself right, get my mind right. But at the end of the day, I still felt a little starstruck a little bit.
Yeah.
Fans, all the eyes on me.
Yep.
It could be that match. I lost that match. It was a close one. I lost by a point. And after that, I just kind of stopped trying to watch the crowd, focus on the crowd, none of that stuff. So next match, I just focus on what I had been training on everything that I've been working on. And, it felt good to get that win at Nationals, knowing that you get a W at that stage. It's a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, man. I can't imagine coming from a kid from Greensboro that had no aspirations, up until changing from football to wrestling just to keep your mind occupied and busy. That had to be an experience. I say this on just about every episode that we have, and I hate to beat this bush, but man, wrestling in those Midwest states where they have the NCAA championships is huge, and that venue is spectacular. They were going to have it in Minneapolis at the Dome there this past season until it was canceled. So just think about that if you're used to growing up in North Carolina wrestling, but think about them filling up a football stadium in Minneapolis with wrestling fans. It's a pretty special place. So I can understand where it might get a little overwhelming for you, because that's definitely an experience as wrestlers in North Carolina. No matter if you're wrestling for Appalachian State, Duke, or NC State, you don't rarely get a chance to wrestle in front of a crowd like that, and in an arena like that or a stadium like that. So I can definitely see that. So you go on to your senior year, Randall, and you're still crushing it. 26-7 your senior year, man. That was a pretty sweet senior year. That had to feel really good and make you feel pretty special coming on that mat. Those last few duels that you participated in as a senior at Appalachian State.
Oh yeah. Oh, it felt real special.
So you finished your career at 77-48. You were 5-0 in SoCon duels again, undefeated in SoCon duels again. If you're an up-and-coming wrestler and you're watching or listening to this episode, as I said, you want to become a favorite for your favorite of your coaches. Go undefeated in conference duels and rack up some points from your team every time you step on the mat. That's one way of doing it. You took the championship at the SoCon Championship, Randall, earning your second NCAA championship qualifier, and won against the 18th ranked NC State wrestler, and wins against Oklahoma, UNC, and Duke that season. And again, a SoCon Wrestler of the Month. tell us about your NCAA experience, your senior year, and the SoCon championship experience.
Oh, well, the SoCon championship. I went in there expecting to win the tournament. So I was a fan favorite, but I didn't really let that get in my head. I was just trying to focus on one match at a time, and honestly, it was a real. I enjoyed the experience because the guy I ended up wrestling. Both of the guys I ended up wrestling, a guy from Chattanooga, he beat me my freshman year. So I never got a chance to wrestle him again until my senior year. So I'm a guy that I hold grudges, especially competition.
Yeah.
Especially competition, I hold grudges, and I kept that in my head every time. I was just itching to wrestle him again. And when I got the chance to, I showed him that I was better than him. Both times we wrestled, regular season and the tournament. And then come the finals, guy from Citadel, he's been, I don't think he was on my level at all. I don't know what was in my head. I wasn't really myself, but he got the best of me a couple of times, but not that. But my senior year, I didn't take no more L's from him. I put all the whooping on him every tournament, everywhere. Anytime we wrestled, I ended up coming out on top. Become my senior year, I knew they was going to try to do everything just to try to steal that match away, and I just kept digging deep. Because at one point, I got a call, a hands in the face call. And I just knew I knew I did it, and I knew his coach was going to say something just to get him a point and try to get him to get back in the match. But during that little intermission, I told myself I'm not going to let them take this away from me. It's my last year, and I'm definitely not going to lose to this guy. And
yeah.
I ended up coming. I stuck to the match. I ended up winning, and then come nationals, didn't really have the tournament that I was expecting to have. I ended up losing to a guy that I beat during the season. I don't know what was going on with that match. And then my second match, I lost that match too against a guy from Buffalo by I think 1 point.
Yeah.
It was just it wasn't my best tournament. It definitely stung to go out that way, but I definitely did learn a lot though. I learned a lot from those experiences.
Yeah, that's good, and I'm sure it's something you carry on to the wrestlers that you're coaching nowadays. We got Randal Diabe, Assistant Coach of Appalachian State Wrestling. Man, I'm jacked to hear that title on your name, man. That is, from watching you wrestle on those matches to that match at Chattanooga to your senior year, man, it's pretty awesome to be able to see that title on your name, and I know it's well deserved. And I know, we were talking about it a little bit before the match. You were definitely a fan favorite, and I think you're a favorite of the current wrestlers within the program. Seem to have a lot of respect with a lot of guys there. So, got a comment from Sava Costas. You are the man, Randall. Yes, he is, and a lot of times on the mat. So, and we've got Coach John Mark is chiming in. He's got a question for you, Randall. John Mark says, is Randall upset that his picture on the locker room entrance is soon getting replaced?
Nah, not really, because if you look in the background, I'm still there.
And you're as a coach now, man.
Oh, yeah.
That had to kind of bring you back, right? Because Kerry basically just did the same thing. He basically just did the same thing. The championship wasn't on the line. The regular season championship wasn't on the line. But he stepped on the mat with a kid with Jerry that I don't think he had ever defeated before in his college career, and took him out at home in the Holmes Convocation Center. So as a coach, to see Kerry do that and be a part of that had to be pretty special for you anyways.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely special. It was his match and DiMaggio out the 97 match, 97-pounder match. I worked with DiMaggio too, and mainly Coach Bentley. That was one of the reasons why he wanted me as an assistant volunteer. Also just keep me around here and help out with the program, especially with the big guys. Because at the time we had him, Josh, and Ryan. Ryan would sometimes be able to go all the way up to 97, but when it comes to the big boys,
That's where you got to step on there.
That's why I had to step in. And it was quite, it was a real achievement, to see Carrie, especially coming. Funny, crazy, a fun little crazy story. Me and Carrie wrestled back in high school, sophomore year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, to qualify for the winner goes to states. I ended up beating him, and then we ended up at the same college later on down the road, but being teammates. But it was a real good experience watching him evolve the way he did, and he definitely that's a kid that I say, a man that I said stuck with the work ethic, and he's constantly, working, trying to get better and better, and to see him achieve his goal and me still being there and being in his corner, that was definitely an achievement. Just me being a volunteer assistant, experiencing something like that, just being a volunteer assistant, I want to make my passion grow.
Yeah, man. And Mazio's story, I can't wait to have him on an episode, man. That season that he had this year, man, wow. And that win there at the tournament was definitely something special. So definitely two great kids that you had to be proud of being a part of that. Teammates, right? And now as an assistant, it had to be a pretty special moment for you to be mat side for those. We've got Randal Diabe, assistant coach with Appalachian State Wrestling. If you're watching us on Twitter, go ahead and like it, retweet it, help spread the word. If you're on YouTube, jump on over here, any other ones, jump on over here to the Facebook chat and chime in if you have any comments or questions. We've got another question for you, Randall. Christian Beach says, who is the best ping pong player on the team since I am gone?
Well, we haven't played ping pong yet, but dang, I say me.
that sounds like a challenge, Christian. Cody Russell. Yeah, he looks like he'd be a good ping pong player. He looks like he'd be all over that table. So now that you've had some time, right? You've had a little bit of time in Boone. You're going on your 6th year in Boone now. Mm-hmm. Now that you've been in Boone for a while, what's your fondest memory or favorite part about Boone right now?
Favorite part about Boone? It's the people, man. The people here, the atmosphere. As a kid a kid from North Carolina, believe it or not, I knew nothing about Boone nor Appalachian until I started getting recruited by Coach Bentley. After that, I fell in love with the place. Came here, the support that I had behind me. Everybody just had the best interest for me, and everybody here is very, very friendly. Very friendly. It's hard to make enemies here, unless you just deliberately going out there to try to make an enemy.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. Coming from Greensboro, you don't get a lot of people smile at you, and they just give you a straight face, just look at you all mean. But coming down here, people just smiling at you, being generous, that's something that I took warm to, and I started liking that more and more. And as the years went by, I just grew to love it more and more.
Yeah, I can definitely, I can appreciate that. So what's one thing you wish you would have known starting your college career that you know today? What's kind of one piece of advice you would give the up-and-coming guys, maybe guys that are, freshman kids in high school that are, looking at college wrestling as a possibility? What's that one piece of advice? What's that one thing you wish you would have known at their age?
Hand fighting. That is one thing. That's a game changer. Especially coming to this level, you won't win any matches just putting your hands on somebody and then going for an attack. You have to wear them out through the hand fight. And like I said earlier, taking my L's in the restaurant, they mostly came from the hand fight. I was terrible at hand fighting. Got my tail whooped, and that's something that definitely was a game changer for me. Hand fighting. That's the biggest thing on this college level. It don't matter your skills. It don't really matter your leg attacks. If you can't find ways to get to your leg attack or find a way to break your opponents away, you can get to your leg attack at will. It won't really do you any good on this level unless you learn how to hand fight. So that's one thing I say.
Yeah, and that's probably something just as an outsider in wrestling, those kids probably aren't thinking about that, right? They're thinking about their techniques on the mat and, top, bottom, what it is that they can perfect, what move is that they can perfect that will get them points. I can see where the hand fighting is pretty important because that's generally the first half of every match is kind of hand fighting until somebody gets wore down, and you get out there and you get them on the mat at some point. So, yeah, that's I think that'd be solid advice. Rachel, we all know Rachel. Rachel says, so proud of you, Randall. Love you, brother. And then Rachel asked, if you could tell 9th grade Randall one thing, what would you tell him? And I'm pretty sure it'd probably still be hand fighting, or would it be something else?
Oh, I say blind faith. That's one thing I'll tell a freshman, 9th grade Randall. Having blind faith in your coaches. They brought you trusted them to come to this level. Your parents trusted them with you. So, why not fully commit yourself to them? Having blind faith in your coaches and trusting their process, trusting what they see, that's something that'll definitely go a long way.
Yeah, that's solid advice. Again, if anybody out there is entering their high school career in wrestling, Randall's dishing it out tonight. Take heed to it because he's been there and done that, and helping wrestlers get to the next level now. Most memorable individual match. I would say I need to ask you this question, but I probably have a good guess of what it is. But if it's not the Chattanooga match, Randall, what is it?
Winning the conference championship. Beating that kid, Sawyer Root.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that would be... What would be your most memorable team moment, duel, or tournament as a wrestler or as a coach?
Well, as a wrestler, most memorable moment, I'll say, one would beat Indiana my freshman year. And because, like I said, not everybody look at Appalachian as, any big P5 schools, anything like that. And going all over to Indiana and beating them, that felt real sweet, and I feel like that definitely helped put App on the map. So
yeah.
That's one. And then for me as a coach, I say seeing those guys win conference and then having those qualify, having to be a part of the coaching staff, having to be a part of the program with having those amount of qualifiers that year. Yeah. That was something pretty special.
Yeah, man. It was a record here at App. Six qualifiers. The exciting thing is, Randall, for you guys, you've got 3 returning. Man, is that a record? I'm not sure if John Mark is listening still. If anybody out there is listening, is having 3 returning qualifiers, have we ever had 3 or more before? That'd be a great question. If anybody can chime in on that, that'd be something to know. College routine or superstition? When you were a wrestler, did you have any routines that you had to stick to, or any superstitions prior to matches or duels?
Oh man, I was a little superstitious on the way I do things. Like on match day, I was a little superstitious. So I try to do everything exactly the same, exactly like to a T. Go in the wrestling room, warm up at a certain time of the match, of the 84 match going on. I just warm up at a certain time, and I either I didn't have no partners then, I just warmed up by myself, got myself real tired. If I just probably grab somebody, just pop up some shots, but nothing real serious to get me warm like that. But I say, yeah, I kept everything. I try to keep everything to a T. I like my shoelaces tied a specific way. I like to wear my socks a specific way. I didn't want to change anything of it. I was a little superstitious, and the only reason behind that is because my junior year in high school, I never taped my shoelaces. I know it's just pretty something that had nothing to do with wrestling, but that just wasn't my thing. I taped my shoelaces. First time I ever did that, and I lost the match. Never again. Never started taping them. But then later,
yeah. So you forgot that tape after that match.
Oh yeah. But then later on in college, I still didn't tape it. No, I didn't tape it. Yeah. So I still stayed the same.
Yeah, and John Mark does have our back. He said you guys had 3 returning qualifiers last year as well. So you're on a roll, man. I mean, having 3 back-to-back years where you have 3 qualifiers returning, that's got to be pretty exciting for the program. That's I think we said it last episode that I was on. That's kind of a foundation, right? You start to build on that foundation. You keep that talent in the wrestling room that's preparing the next guy. Right, because that's what most people don't realize is our starters, there's 10 of them, but there's still, 20 other kids that are in that wrestling room training their butts off, trying to get a slot for the next year or the next opportunity that shows up. So having 3 guys return that are qualifiers means that the wrestling room is that much more experienced and that much more qualified. With some great talent, so it's a good showing, and glad you guys are keeping that rolling. So Randall, we're gonna start another little a quick round. We call this the Scuffle. It's kind of a quick fire questions. Some of these are going to be pretty hot and heavy. Some of them are very technical related, so I don't mean to put you under the heat lamp, but we're gonna get to know you even a little bit more. Top, bottom, or neutral? Neutral. I knew you were going to say that because you kind of gave it away in the beginning. You definitely like to be on your feet. You like to be I will tell you, you like to put wrestlers down on the mat. I think I watched one of your YouTube matches here right before we got on here, and I think you put that kid back down on the mat like 3 times in one match, and I could hear, I think it was John, I'm pretty sure that it was John Mark yelling, "He's hurt! He's hurt!"
Oh yeah, that's him.
He's hurt. So yeah, you definitely like the neutral, and you like to put the kids back down on the mat every time you got a good leverage on them. They were definitely in for a hard landing on the mat. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult than that last one. Dunkin' or Krispy Kremes?
Dunkin' all day.
Dunkin' all day. You're a John Mark Dunkin' Donuts Bentley guy. That's from my understanding, if you travel with John Mark, that's the only place you've got a shot at stopping at.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you're going to go. So John Mark chimed back in. Exciting about the other guys on the radar. They're going to make a statement. Yeah, man, that wrestling room this season is pretty exciting, man. I will tell you, if you're an Appalachian State wrestling fan and you're not jacked to see these guys back on the mat, you have no idea what we ended last season on, because there is a lot of talent returning back there. And Randall, I tell everybody, man, your first matches of the season is going to be crazy, man. There is going to be a lot of pent-up energy on that mat. Even if it's just the wrestling teams, there is going to be a lot of energy on that mat that gets released. And I hope I'm a part of it. I hope I can be mat side and that they allow the fans in and that sort of thing. But man, if I can, I'm definitely going to watch it somehow, because that is going to be a pretty exciting venue, especially if it's at Varsity Gym with a sold out crowd. That place is going to be nuts. Rachel says Zeus, and then she also chimes in with hashtag Dunkin' or Die. Yeah, that sounds like a John Mark hashtag from what I know. Everybody says that. I have yet to have Dunkin' Donuts with John Mark, but we'd have to travel a ways to get it up here, right? There's nothing, none of that's close up here. So
the only Dunkin' they got is probably in Speedway. That's not the real one.
Yeah. So Christian Beach says best place treat in Boone. Get me a cinnamon roll or through tournament this weekend. I'm not sure what Christian is talking about. Do you know what Christian is talking about? A cinnamon roll?
I do not.
Do not. All right. So Howard's
Oh,
Knob.
now I think I do.
You do know what he's
I
talking
always
about.
made fun of being a Pillsbury Doughboy.
Yeah, it's got to happen when you're one of the bigger guys in the room, right? And it's not, 197, dude. When you walked out on the mat at 197, it was ripped. Yeah, I don't know what they have to talk about, but I don't know that I'd call your 197
No, it was
Doughboy.
Beach. He was Pillsbury Doughboy.
Oh, he was Pillsbury Doughboy. Oh, so now the truth comes out. Yeah, and I think he's coming up for the golf tournament. I hope to run into you guys at the golf tournament that afternoon. So I'll have to remind him of that or make mention of that. That'll be good. This one's going to be a little bit harder. Howard's Knob or moving mats for camp?
Ooh. I say Howard's Knob.
Howard's Knob. You like to
Yeah.
run? That's a statement for a big guy, man. I wouldn't take you as a runner. Are you a runner?
I mean, not typically, but I tend to be. I end up being a good runner.
Nice. Well, I guess if you work for John Mark, you have to be, right?
Oh yeah.
You better be able to run. I can guarantee you that man can still run. Yeah, that's good, man. Howard's Knob or moving mats, and he picked Howard's Knob at 197. That's impressive. I like that. This one isn't going to be too difficult, I don't think. Chick-fil-A or Bojangles?
Chick-fil-A.
Wow. What?
What?
Man, I figured being a homegrown guy, you'd be all about some Bojangles, man. Because I'll be honest with you, if it's Bojangles or Chick-fil-A for me, man, we getting bow rounds all day long.
I do like myself some bowl rounds though.
Yeah, we're gonna eat bow rounds for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if it's my choice, because it's hard to beat Bojangles. But Chick-fil-A, what's your go-to meal at Chick-fil-A?
Well, just a regular a chicken sandwich with some Kobe Jack cheese.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I could crush one of those too. So this one is a little bit aged, but I'm still going to ask you because this is a lot of your time was involved in this. Power hour or LeBlanc practice?
Power hour.
Power hour?
Yeah. LeBlanc. Oh wait, it's not gonna be long. 3 hours later, we're still in the room. Power hour, just that hour, hard hour. Oh, we done.
In and out, huh? Yeah, that one's. I've get some mixed feedback on that one. Power hour or LeBlanc? I didn't realize that the LeBlanc practice is like a 3-hour power hour.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty good. Another challenging one: cookout, Five Guys, or comeback?
Tough one. Tough. I say comeback Shack.
Oh yeah, man, I'm with you on that one. I will. Comeback Shack has been too much a part of my life now that the whole COVID thing has been going on, man. That's some good eating there. And I will tell you though, if you think you're gonna run to Comeback Shack and get through the drive-in real quick nowadays,
No.
Jack, you better plan on about 40 minutes in line, because that line goes around that building about 3 times nowadays. Yeah, solid choice. Comeback. What's the sandwich? You get the Comeback Shack style fries with the toppings and everything on them. Is that your thing there?
Porky fries.
Oh, the porky fries.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna try them. I haven't tried those yet, but I'm gonna try them next time.
Pretty good.
So go out, Comeback Shack. If you're listening, we need to get some sponsorship on this show because we're selling some porky fries right now. So, 6 a.m. preseason or 6 a.m. postseason?
Ooh. Postseason.
Postseason? Yeah, probably, especially now as a coach, right?
Oh yeah.
I think that's what everybody follows the lines of being a coach or a wrestler. It's like, man, as a coach, it's postseason for sure. So Rachel has one for us for the Scuffle. Jimmy John's or Jersey Mike's?
Ooh. Jersey Mike's.
Really? I'm just going to be very transparent. I don't know that I've had a Jersey Mike's sub, so I can't really chime in.
Pretty good.
I kind of feel bad for that. I might have to go out and get one. Jersey Mike's, you might be on the radar here soon. But I will say Jimmy John's, or what's the other sub place new in town down there by
Penn Station?
Penn Station, man. They're
good too.
Yeah, they do some good sandwiches too. Hey, man, I'm going to be real hungry by the time we get off this episode. So you got Jersey Mike's, man. I'm going to have to go out and get I might have to try a Jersey Mike's here soon. Thomas Dellinger says, that's my boy.
Much love, Thomas. Much love.
So, Randall, one thing that I've missed talking to other people on the Beyond the Mat episode, and mainly because we haven't really talked to many Appalachian State wrestlers, is kind of tell me the importance in your mind of Yosef Club members. What is it that they're able to do, and why are they important to the program in support of Appalachian State athletics and in specific Appalachian State wrestling?
I mean, the donors. I mean, it plays a big aspect. Really, really plays a big aspect. Yosef Club members, always give back. Oh, they always give. I mean, that's like the whole purpose of that club. Just people that give back, that previous alumni giving back to the old alma mater, and it is a pretty big deal. And I say, for wrestling, it helps with the donation because wrestling we don't tend to get a lot of money like other sports do, and with some donors from Yosef clubs, it definitely does. It helps a lot with the funding of us getting some gears, to actually, look like an actual D1 team, and like compared to the others, compared to the other teams on campus, I said they definitely with all their donations and all the love that they still have for Appalachia and the athletics that's something I still find special, and I think it's still special, and I think that that's something that I appreciate that they're still doing.
Yeah, good words of advice, and I will tell and for the viewers, our participation in the Yosef Club needs some work. So if you at all have considered supporting Appalachian State athletics, the Yosef Club is definitely the start. And I will tell you, it doesn't matter how big or how small your commitment is, $5 a year and they'll take it and they'll be happy. It is better than nothing. You get 1,000 of those together, and we're starting to pay for scholarships. So definitely consider if you're interested in supporting Appalachian State athletics, and you can donate specifically to the wrestling program as well. We've got another question, but before I ask this question, if you have any comments, questions, or just remarks for Randall, I've got Randal Diabe, assistant coach with Appalachian State Wrestling over here, live on the Facebook page and our other outlets. Hop on over here, be a part of the conversation. I think I can keep him on as long as we have questions rolling in or comments. I don't think he's giving me a hard stop. If he ends the call, I'll know that he's got to go, but we might be able to keep him on the line here a little bit longer. But we'll take in your questions and comments over here on our Facebook page. Join us over here if you have anything. Like us, share us, tag your friends, retweet us, whatever it may be. Christian Beach says, the funniest Bentley story. What's your funniest Bentley story? This is going to
He's going to get a kick out of this one too, but I find it funny to me. He claims, this man claims that he teched me. He put 15 points on me in 30 seconds.
What?
Yes, that's what he. And I laugh. I don't think that's true. I think that's pretty far fetched. I think that's pretty far fetched. I mean, I wasn't that terrible in my upcoming, in those years, but I get a kick out of that, telling me that he beat me. He teched me in a 30-second go.
So I've talked to John Mark. I don't recall what weight class he wrestles. What weight class is John Mark in today?
I say about 165 to 170.
And he teched you in 30 seconds?
But no. That back then he wasn't. I don't think he was that heavy. But that was like my freshman or sophomore year. I think he was pushing 160. He was pushing the 160s then. But I still don't think. I mean, can you believe that, man? Like 30 seconds, somebody getting teched in 30 seconds. It's like, that's just a funny story to me.
Yeah, that is pretty good, man. I'll have to mention that to him. Steve Griffin is a big USF Club supporter, longtime USF Club member, excellent supporter of Appalachian State athletics. Steve Griffin chimes in with a reminder, and they have payment plans for the USF Club. They definitely do, folks, and I will tell you, and I'm not joking. I know it is a kind of a misnomer, so to speak, that people think to be a part of it, you got to donate a lot of money, but you don't. Any small amount will help. Small amounts add up over time and definitely make an impact to that program. Thomas Dellinger chimes in, says, what's the biggest value on how to live your life John Mark has taught you?
Biggest value. It's actually one of our core beliefs too. You know, there was one of the quote. Is a quote by Lou Holtz. You know, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. It's never. I mean, it's never the right time to do the wrong thing. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. You know. Yeah. That's got. I would say if all the new wrestlers that walked into that room took that to heart, they would save them a lot of trouble. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Randall, I definitely appreciate your time. If anybody else has got any last-minute questions or remarks, ask Josh Rosa. He'll vouch for the Tech Falls story.
that Bentley?
Yeah, that's John Mark. Let's see if Josh Rosa chimes in here. We'll give him a few more minutes. I mean, I'm going to ask you one more question, Randall. What's one thing you hope people remember about your commitment to Appalachian State wrestling?
Repeat that question one more time, please.
What's one thing you hope people remember about your commitment to Appalachian State wrestling?
You know, just being a hard worker, period. You know, just get going after it, trying to make everything hard. And that's one thing I say that I definitely see that I left behind. That's a mark that I had left behind, especially with my training partners of my junior year to my senior year. And I always made it hard on them, you know, because I always try to get the best out of practice. So I just making them grind. And one of the things I actually post on my locker, you know, it'd be, you know, as the sport of wrestling, you got to expect to get tired, and you just got to embrace it. And, you know, a lot of people try to shy away from being tired, and, you know, I want to get tired. You know, that's how I know I'm getting better. It's how you perform when you're tired. It's to show how much more you can gain, how better you are, you know.
Yeah.
So that's something I said I left behind.
Yeah, and I would say that speaks for itself. We talked about this, Randall, before we went live. The amount of interaction that I had through the post this week announcing you coming on the episode was second to none, man. I mean, you are definitely a fan favorite. You are a student athlete favorite. People really enjoy you and watching you wrestle and what you did for the program. So I will tell you that hasn't gone unnoticed. And Steve chimes in, says he gave his all for Appalachian, and that definitely goes a long ways with all of us on the other side, watching you guys perform on the mat. So definitely appreciate your time this evening. And took up a little bit more time than I anticipated, but it's been a great conversation, and I'm glad to get to know Assistant Coach Randall Diabe a little bit more. Appreciate you, Randall. A truly remarkable young man. Yes, he is, Rachel, and we appreciate you hanging out and the chat with us tonight. We appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. Like us, share us. We would appreciate some subscriptions on YouTube if you have a YouTube account. If not, make a couple of using Randall's email address or something and go subscribe to us on there. We'd appreciate some subscribers on YouTube. We're going to have a quick comment or a quick ad from one of our sponsors, Chad Mitchell with Mountaineer Works, going to tell me a little bit about his work, and appreciate you joining us this evening. Stand by, Randall. I'll be with you in just a second. This episode of The Grind is proudly sponsored by Mountaineer Works. Mountaineer Works, owned and operated by Appalachian State alum and athletics photographer Chad W. Mitchell. Chad designs and builds officially licensed, unique cornhole board sets, and today I give my all plaques that will surely rock your tailgate, party, backyard barbecue, office, or creative space. They're sculptured smooth in the wood lab, fire coated at over 3,000 degrees, and paint dyed in the Cornhole Conservatory to complement their one-of-a-kind grain, then App State branded. The best part is you choose from a set of pre-approved color layouts and App State logos to personally design your cornhole boards, and today I give my all plaque. Mix it up or match it up, you can't go wrong. Show your Mountaineer pride as these make solid gifts for deserving folks. Find Mountaineer Works on Facebook and Instagram to place your order or ask a question.
This has been a production by Yosef Media.